Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're stepping away from the spreadsheet logic for a moment to tackle something that usually feels pretty intangible.
Hmm.
We're talking about that ghost in the machine of financial independence. We're talking about luck.
It is probably the single most controversial word in finance, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have one camp saying success is 100% hard work, grit, and grind.
Right. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
And then the other camp says it's all just, random probability and pure timing.
And the truth, as it usually is probably somewhere in the middle. But today, we're looking at this through a very specific lens. We're breaking down the philosophy behind the Golden Path strategy.
Yeah.
And just to orient everyone, before we get into any of the mechanics, I think we have to acknowledge the architect behind this entire system.
Absolutely. The credibility of the system really comes from its origins. So, yeah, this context is vital.
We're analyzing the 3 stages, 13 steps to financial independence, developed by Tamir Kaham. Tamir is the originator and architect of this entire strategy. He's also the creator of the YouTube channel, The Golden Path to Financial Independence. And he's the official Hebrew translator of The Richest Man in Babylon. It's this specific blend of modern systems engineering with ancient financial wisdom that makes this approach so powerful.
And today we are discussing a special bonus topic, episode 15, When Luck Meets Preparedness.
This feels like a pivotal moment because we aren't talking about a specific step, like here's how to budget or here's how to allocate assets.
No, this is bigger.
We're talking about the mindset shift, the shift required to move from being an employee to becoming an asset owner.
It's the shift from being sort of a victim of circumstance,
Yeah.
Waiting for something to happen to you, to becoming a system builder who is ready to capture opportunity when it flies by.
Which brings us to the core question of this deep dive. I actually want to read this exactly as it was posed in the source material because it stopped me in my tracks.
Okay, let's hear it.
If tomorrow a massive opportunity fell into your lap, a real estate deal, a partnership offer, an exceptional investment, would you even be in a position to seize it? We love to tell stories about luck, but underneath every lucky story, there's a question. Was the person actually ready when luck showed up? Luck isn't a strategy. Preparedness is what transforms luck from random chance into reliable opportunity.
That is the whole thing right there. I mean, we see people who made millions during a tech boom or bought real estate at the bottom of a crash, and we just say, wow, they were so lucky.
Of course, that's the first thing you think.
And sure, the timing was lucky, the event itself was lucky, but luck is totally useless if you're not standing there with a catcher's mitt ready to go.
Okay, I want to dig into that catcher's mitt analogy, but first we need to clear something up. The source material draws a really hard line between financial independence and wealth.
Mm-hmm.
To me, and I think to most people, those words are basically synonyms. Why does this strategy separate them?
This is a mandatory distinction. I mean, mixing them up is what keeps people on the hamster wheel forever. Most people think financial independence means, driving a Lamborghini and owning a yacht.
Right. They conflate freedom with excess.
Exactly. So let's define it. Financial independence is really just a solvency metric. It's the state where your passive income covers your living expenses. That's it.
So it means you're no longer dependent on a job for your survival. It creates freedom of choice.
It creates freedom of choice.
Oh.
And it is achievable first. Wealth, on the other hand, is defined as accumulation far beyond necessity. It's significant surplus capital.
So wealth is what comes after independence if you decide to keep going.
Right, if you choose to keep building. This whole deep dive is about the preparedness needed for independence. We are not trying to figure out how to buy a private island. We're trying to figure out how to stop being vulnerable.
That reframing actually makes the goal feel much more attainable. We're building a system for freedom, not necessarily for, extreme luxury. So let's go back to that engineering definition of luck. You mentioned a catcher's mitt.
Okay, so think of luck. Like a market crash that tanks prices.
Yeah.
Or a sudden tech boom. Think of that as a ball flying through the air.
Okay, got it. Visualizing the ball.
You cannot control the ball. That's the weather. That is external events. You cannot force the market to crash just because you want to buy cheap houses.
Right. I can't control the Fed, and I definitely can't control the housing market.
But to benefit from that ball, you have to be standing on the field with a mitt. The mitt is your preparedness system. If that ball flies by and you're sitting in the stands or you're on the field but your hands are empty,
then that opportunity is just noise. It just passes you by.
it just passes you by.
So the lucky person is just the one who happened to have their mitt up when the ball came their way. But let's get specific. In this strategy, what is the MIT actually made of? It can't just be, like, positive thinking.
No, it's engineering, not magic. The MIT is built from three very specific pillars: defense, offense, and the brain.
Let's break those down. Pillar 1 is defense. I'm assuming we're talking about the emergency fund here.
We are, but I want to reframe how we look at it. Usually people think of an emergency fund as just a mathematical requirement. I need, X dollars in case my car breaks down.
Sure.
But in this philosophy, it's not just financial math. It's biological.
Biological, you mean like stress levels and things like that?
It goes deeper than just stress. There's actual research on what's called the scarcity mindset. When you are living paycheck to paycheck, your nervous system is essentially in a chronic state of fight or flight.
So you're always in survival mode.
Always. And here's the kicker. Survival mode literally lowers your IQ. Studies have shown that when your brain is obsessing over unpaid bills, you have less cognitive bandwidth for long-term planning. You physically cannot see the big picture.
That is terrifying. It's like your brain just puts blinders on.
It is. So the emergency fund, that 3 to 6 months of living expenses, it acts as a shield. It's not just money in the bank. It's buying back your cognitive processing power. It calms the nervous system so you can actually think like an investor.
So defense prevents you from making stupid decisions out of desperation.
Think of it like a pressure valve. Without that emergency fund, any external pressure,
Yeah.
a job loss, a medical bill, it just blows the seals on your investment capital. You're forced to sell assets at the worst possible time.
Okay, so defense keeps you in the game. Now, let's talk about pillar 2. Offense. The opportunity fund.
This is where people often get tripped up. They ask, why do I need 2 separate piles of cash? Isn't money just money?
Well, let me play devil's advocate here. If I have cash sitting in an opportunity fund earning, let's say, 4% interest, but inflation is at 5%, aren't it technically losing money every day? I just hold it. Why not be fully invested?
And that is the classic spreadsheet logic trap. On a spreadsheet, yes, cash drag looks inefficient, but in the real world, cash is optionality. The emergency fund is fear-based. You hope you never touch it. Right? The opportunity fund is growth-based. It is hunting ammunition.
Hunting ammunition. I like that. That implies you aren't just saving. You're actively waiting to pull a trigger.
You are. And this triggers a fascinating psychological effect that involves the reticular activating system, or the RAS.
I've heard of this. This is the red car theory.
Right, that's the common example, yeah.
Yeah.
You decide to buy a red convertible and suddenly you see them everywhere.
Right, because now your brain is actively looking for them.
Now apply that to investing. If you have zero cash to invest, your brain filters out investment opportunities as, irrelevant noise. Why would your brain waste energy noticing a for sale sign if you can't buy the house anyway?
So you walk right past the deal of a lifetime because you didn't even think you were a player in the game.
Exactly. But when you have that opportunity fund, when you have capital sitting on the sidelines specifically designated for investment, you are signaling to your brain that you are a player. You start seeing deals you would have ignored.
So the cash isn't just sitting there losing to inflation. It's actively changing your perception of reality. It moves you from, I can't afford that, to, is this the right target for my ammunition?
And that shift in perception is worth so much more than the cost of inflation. Because when the deal comes, you can strike immediately.
But having the ammunition isn't enough. I mean, if I have a pile of cash, but I don't know a good deal from a Ponzi scheme, I'm just going to lose it all.
Well, that brings us to pillar 3.
The brain.
The brain. This corresponds to step 13 in the strategy, continuous focused learning. And we don't see this as the final step you take after you're rich. It's the parallel backbone. It runs alongside the entire journey.
Because capital without literacy is just...
It's dumb money. It explodes on the launch pad. I mean, if you hand $1 million to someone with zero financial literacy, they won't be wealthy for long.
They'll just be a victim of scams or bad deals or just terrible tax management.
Right. So literacy, the brain, is the guidance system. It tells you where to aim your offense. It lets you vet deals, understand tax implications. It helps you distinguish a trap from a treasure.
Okay, this is great in theory, but I want to ground it. The source material gives a really specific case study that shows how these pillars work in a crisis. It talks about the creator, Tamir, during the 2008 subprime crisis.
This is the ultimate luck versus preparedness scenario. Yeah. And we have to really remember what 2008 felt like.
Oh yeah, let's set the scene. It was not just a market dip.
No, it was global panic, Lehman Brothers had just collapsed. The narrative was blood in the streets. The U.S. housing market was in an absolute free fall. Everyone saw a fire.
I remember that time. Even if you had money, you were terrified to spend it. You didn't know if the banks would even be open on Monday.
But because of Pillar 3, his financial literacy, Tamir, didn't see a fire. He saw a clearance sale. He understood that there was a massive dislocation between the price of the assets and their actual intrinsic value.
Okay, but here's the objection. I can hear someone thinking. Sure, easy for him. He probably had millions of dollars to just swoop in and buy up cheap houses.
And that is the false assumption. He was a salaried engineer. He was not a millionaire. He had constraints just like everyone else.
So how did he catch the ball? He saw the opportunity? He had the brain. But did he have the offense, the capital?
He had some, but not enough to make the kind of impact he wanted. He recognized he had the literacy, he had the defense, his emergency fund was intact, so he wasn't panicking about his own bills.
So his nervous system was calm.
His nervous system was calm, but he needed more capital. So he formed a partnership with his brothers.
A partnership. Now, usually you think of partnership as just a way to get more money. I have 50K, you have 50K, let's buy a 100K house. But there's deeper insight here, right, about the psychology of it.
This is where it gets really interesting. And frankly, this is the part most solo investors completely miss. The partnership wasn't just for capital, it provided emotional stability.
Emotional stability. How does a partner help you emotionally when the market is tanking?
Well, think about that 2008 atmosphere we just described. You're buying real estate in a foreign country during a global economic collapse. The fear is palpable. It is so easy to panic.
To second-guess yourself at 2 in the morning. To sell at the wrong time because you saw one scary news headline.
Exactly. That's the solo investor's curse. You're just stuck in your own head. A partnership acts as a kind of gyroscope. If one person starts to wobble or panic, the others stabilize the ship. It mitigates emotional decision-making.
That is such a cool way to look at it. The partners are part of the preparedness system. They're part of the catcher's mitt.
Absolutely. So because he had the defense, the offense through the partnership, and the brain, he didn't wait for luck. He hunted. While others were paralyzed with fear, he was walking neighborhoods, talking to agents, and crunching spreadsheets.
He was signaling to his RAS that he was a buyer.
He was standing on the platform with his bags packed. The crash was the luck. That was the external event. His success was the result of years of building those 3 pillars before the event ever happened.
It really reframes the whole employee to asset owner journey. The employee just hopes nothing bad happens. The asset owner prepares so that when something bad happens in the market, it might actually be an opportunity.
That is the entire shift. The shift from victim to system builder. You stop obsessing over the variable you can't control, which is luck, and you start obsessing over the variable you can control. Preparedness.
So if we look at this for our listener today, they might be sitting there thinking, okay, great, I missed 2008. I missed the Bitcoin boom. I missed the COVID recovery rally.
The train always comes around again. Markets are cyclical. There will be another crash. There will be another boom. There will be another technological disruption.
So the question isn't if it will happen.
The question is simply, when it happens, will you be ready? Will you have the defense to stay calm? Will you have the offense to act? And will you have the literacy to know what to do?
So, practically speaking, the action item here isn't to go out and find a deal today. It's to build the mitt.
Build the shield so your IQ doesn't drop when things get tight. Fill the ammunition box so your brain starts spotting targets. And train the guidance system so you don't shoot yourself in the foot. Stop looking for the lottery ticket and start building the infrastructure of your life.
That is a perfect summary of the philosophy. Before we wrap up, we should be clear on the boundaries of what we're discussing.
Yes, we absolutely must include our disclaimer.
This content is strictly educational, not personalized financial advice. No guarantees of results. Success depends on your execution. You are responsible for evaluating what applies to you and consulting qualified professionals, accountants, advisors, lawyers, before making your own decisions.
We provide the framework. The execution is and always will be up to you.
So to recap today's deep dive, stop waiting for luck. Build your defense, build your offense, and build your brain. Become the person who is ready when that ball flies your way.
And remember, literacy is the parallel backbone. It's the light in the dark room. Without it, you are just running blind.
If you want to understand the specific mechanics of how to build these funds, how much to save, where to put it, all of that, you need to go through the full 13-step series.
Yeah, we covered the philosophy today, but the mechanics are in the other deep dives. And for the visual learners, I highly recommend checking out the diagrams.
You can find those on the YouTube channel, The Golden Path to Financial Independence.
And a quick note on finding that channel, the handle is at Tamir Goldpath.
That's at Tamir Goldpath.
One final thought to leave you with. We talked about the train coming around again. I want you to just visualize that platform. It's empty right now, it's quiet, but you can hear the rumble in the distance. The train always comes around again. The only question is, will you be standing on the platform with your bags packed?
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
2025 Tamir Kaham. All rights reserved. The Golden Path and the Golden Path Defy are trademarks of Tamir Kaham.